Wait, are you gaming? On a Chromebook?
Yep. It's got a high-res 120Hz display, plus this killer RGB keyboard. And I can access thousands of games anytime, anywhere.
Stop playing.
What?
Get out of here.
Huh?
Yeah, I want you to stop playing and get out of here so I can game on that Chromebook.
Got it.
Discover the ultimate cloud gaming machine, a new kind of Chromebook.
This Halloween,
mystery lurks around every corner.
Bundle up with Disney Plus and Hulu.
What are you scared of?
The dark.
It's spine-tingling fun on Disney Plus with Haunted Mansion and Goosebumps.
I'm gonna need you to spread the word.
Then feel the bone-chilling terror on Hulu with The Boogeyman and American Horror Story Delicate.
Something's happening to me.
The Disney Bundle with Hulu and Disney Plus. All of these and more streaming this month. Plans starting at $9.99 a month. 18 plus only. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for eligible subscribers only. Terms apply.
Instacart helps you get beer and wine delivered in as fast as an hour. So, whether you need to fill the cooler for tailgate season or fill your glass for Pinot by the fire season, you can save time by getting fall sips delivered in just a few clicks. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Must be 21 or over for alcohol delivery where available. Instacart. Add life to cart.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace, for the latest episode in our series, What Was It Like To? In today's show, I will be taking you back to the first Men's Cricket World Cup with former Australian opener Rick McCosker, a regular guest on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Rick was part of the powerful Australian side who toured England to play the World Cup and the Ashes in 1975. The inaugural men's tournament featured 8 teams in 2 groups, with the top 2 in each group going through to the semi-finals. One group comprised England, India, New Zealand and East Africa, while the other group included Australia, Pakistan, West Indies and Sri Lanka. What was it like to play in the first Men's Cricket World Cup in 1975?
Stephen, hello. Good to see you again. But look, for me, it was very exciting because this was my first tour with the Australian team. And even though when we set off, our main goal was the Ashes, but before that, we had the World Cup. And this was us, so it certainly was new to me. And so it was all very exciting. And just to via Canada and then to England, it was very exciting, and I'm certainly looking forward to it, and looking forward to visiting England because partly because my mother was English. I'd had that connection, and my father was a Royal Air Force pilot in the Second World War. So I had a connection with England, so I was looking forward to visiting, but mainly, obviously, to play cricket.
Well, thanks for that, Rick. I'd like to trace your story on the way to the final on Saturday, the 21st of June. You had only played, I looked up, 3 list day or one-day matches before the World Cup started. And in fact, Ian Chappell had only played 7 ODIs. What were your own thoughts on one-day cricket when you came to England?
Well, again, this was all new to me, and I was a bit unsure as to how I would go, fitting into the Australian team playing a one-day game. So I was a bit anxious to get into it, see how we would go. So from that point of view, looking forward to that first game against Pakistan, but we did play 1 or 2 practice games beforehand. I think we had a game against Middlesex at Lord's, a one-day game before that. And we had a couple of one-day games in Canada on the way over. So they were a couple of lead-up games, but didn't really prepare us for this first World Cup.
Yes, I didn't know until I did some research. You went to Canada and played matches in Vancouver and Toronto. What was it like playing cricket in Canada? You lost one of the games as well.
Yeah, look, it was absolutely beautiful, man. Obviously, I'd never been to Canada before, and it was fascinating. Really enjoyed a couple of days in Vancouver. Then we had a little bit more time in Toronto, and where we did lose a game. We were playing on what they call Koya matting, which was completely foreign to most of our guys, although I had played on it in my youth, coming from the bush. But it wasn't conducive to good one-day cricket that the boys had been used to. And I think also there'd been some fair amount of socialising going on, and we were very, very much welcomed by the Canadian people and by a lot of expat West Indians and even an Englishman who were there. And so it was a very enjoyable few days, but we didn't play very good cricket that particular day.
Quite a different preparation for a World Cup competition.
Yeah. Yes, you can say that.
And you'd played the 3 test matches for Australia against England when you'd beaten England in the winter, the English winter, 4-1. Were you then, do you think, the best side in the world? Although it's hard to compare with one-day cricket, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We felt that we were the best test team in the world, but purely one-day cricket were entirely untried and had no idea where we would fit in. My thoughts were that we were aware that the England team had been playing quite a bit of one-day cricket, and so we felt that they would be much more prepared and much more aware of the type of cricket that was necessary to play one-day games. So we thought that they would be the team that we would have to beat and to see how they would play. That did work out in the end, but so we really didn't know how we were going to go, to be honest, and certainly I didn't. It's my first one-day tournament, so I had no idea really what to expect. So it was just interesting with our lead up and our approach to it was a little bit punt high and follow through, if you understand that meaning. We just to see how it would go, trying to get off to a good start, and then we had a very aggressive middle order lineup. So we would just have to sort of play it as it turns out and see how we went. And that was our approach initially.
Because English county cricket had been playing the Gillette Cup since 1963. The first ever one-day international was 1971 between England and Australia. And, of course, a lot of the West Indians and the Pakistan players were playing county cricket, so they were more familiar to one-day cricket than Australia.
Yep, absolutely, and we were aware of that. And we knew that we were behind the 8 ball from that point of view in regard to experience. So, and we had some new players in the side. It was all a learning curve for us.
Talking about the side, one of the newer players in the side must have been Alan Turner, who you knew well from playing for New South Wales.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, I opened the innings for New South Wales a lot, sometime with Alan. And so we knew each other pretty well, and we complemented each other because we were completely different in styles. I mean, he was a left-hander, very aggressive, hit the ball very hard, which was probably not my style. So I think we complemented each other pretty well.
Before the tournament, were there any special events similar to the centenary test in 77, albeit that was 2 years later?
Yeah. there was, and again, this was very exciting. We were all the teams were invited to Buckingham Palace for morning tea with Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip and Prince Charles. And for me, this was just very exciting because obviously my mother was monarchist from way back, coming from Derby. But for me, this was just a bit surreal. Me coming from a boy from the bush, growing up on a sheep farm. It was a long way from there to Buckingham Palace in London. So it was all very exciting, and it was it was a wonderful experience. We met Her Majesty and Prince Philip, and had good long chat with Prince Charles as he was then. So and this is an opportunity just to also meet some of the other players in the other teams who we hadn't met. So it was a wonderful day. We we had to wait for quite some time for her to appear. So, of course, the comment was, typical woman, keeping the men away, waiting. But anyway, just good to be part of that occasion and see what we could see of Buckingham Palace, and to experience the corgi dogs wandering around, and just the procedure of entering the Buckingham Palace and what we had to go through and all that. So that was a wonderful experience.
Of course, Prince Philip, he presented the trophy, the Prudential World Cup trophy, on the 21st of June.
He did. Unfortunately, he didn't present it to us, but he was there. And of course, we're aware that he had a big interest in cricket, and we didn't quite get that same feeling from Prince Charles, but Philip, he had a good understanding of what the game was all about, and followed it pretty closely.
Well, let's talk about the Australian World Cup programme, which began on Saturday, the 7th of June at Headingley. We mustn't forget these are 60 over-a-side games. You're playing in whites. We've got red balls, and we've got no fielding restrictions. And Australia won the toss and went into bat. So you and Alan Turner went out to bat against Pakistan. What do you remember about the actual first match?
Well, again, it was exciting, but and being at Headingley, a ground, a test match ground that I'd heard so much about, just being there was wonderful, and being aware of the noise of the crowd, and there was obviously very few, if any, Australians there, but there was a whole lot of Pakistanis there, and there was a lot of noise, a lot of excitement, and so it was a nervous time for us, but we did okay, and I remember my first sight of Majid Khan, Pakistani opener, and he had a tremendous reputation, and I was interested to see how he batted, but I can't remember too much about the game except that I got some runs, and I think we ended up winning the game reasonably comfortably. I can't remember too much about the details, but just the atmosphere, the noise, and the fact that we won, that was what impressed me a lot.
Yeah, well, Australia won by 73 runs, 278 for 7, Pakistan 205, and you scored 25 and added 63 with Alan Turner for the first wicket.
Right, yeah, that's right. I thought we got away to a pretty good start, and that was one of our big aims. We didn't really know how quickly we should be batting or what, but our main aim was just to get away to a start, because we knew that with the Chappells and Walters and Edwards and Marsh coming in after us, there was plenty of firepower. So we just need to try and get off to a good start.
Yes, because the Pakistan side, we've got Zahir Abbas, who said Majid Khan, Asif Iqbal, Imran Khan was playing some, Sarfraz Nawaz, a very good side.
Great side, yeah, absolutely. And so it wasn't easy to, if I remember correctly, there was being Headingley, there was a little bit in the wicket initially, and as they would need to, because it was a 120 over game, so had to make sure that there's a little bit of moisture in the wicket that would hold together, which it did, and so it was a little bit tricky to start off with, but we got through it.
Were you aware when you were playing that there was 3 other games on that day? Because it's not like today where it's TV orientated. There was all the 4 matches were played on that day.
Yep, they were. We were aware of that, and we were interested to see how the other teams went, and to see particularly England and West Indies, because we felt that they were the yardstick, and so we were interested to see how they went. But so we had to wait till the end of our game, obviously, to find out what happened.
Well, the West Indies that day were playing Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka were your next opponents. The West Indies easily beat Sri Lanka. You then played Sri Lanka at the Oval, where you featured in the largest opening stand of the tournament. You added 182 with Alan Turner, and you scored 73.
Yeah, I remember that day well. Was a really, really good batting wicket. A lot of runs scored that day. Alan batted magnificently. I just stood down the other end and watched him. He got 100. And I didn't realise that was the largest opening partnership of the whole tournament. But at that stage, again, Sri Lanka had a good batting side, and they were a dangerous team. We knew that if they got going, it could be a problem. So we knew we had to score well in excess of 300 to be competitive, which we did. And then, Jeff Thompson caused a bit of havoc with the Sri Lankan batting, and put a couple of guys in hospital. And but beside beside that, they batted really well. They were courageous. They kept at it, and in the end, they I can't remember the statistics, but I think we might have only won by 50, 60 runs, something like that. But they were really good, and they really took it to us. And it was just the fact that Jeff bowled so quick and so well that a couple of them had to retire hurt, and we got over the line. So, which was, we're happy with that, because it gave us 2 matches, 2 wins, and a good strike rate. So we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered the bit about Jeff Thompson, because that was the first time English supporters had seen Jeff Thompson live in these shores.
And I remember that we were aware there was a lot of press, the English press, were focusing on the fast bowling and the fact that we had Lillian Thompson, and West Indians had about 3 or 4 fast bowlers, and of course Pakistan had pretty good fast bowling attack. So there was a lot of mention, a lot of press about would the fast bowlers be a major factor in this tournament, and so to a certain extent they were, but I don't think they really dominated like it was thought that they might. Although Jeff Thompson obviously dominated in that particular game, but there was a lot of good batting from other teams as well. So I don't think they fast bowling dominated as much as they thought they might.
Just to fill in a few facts then, Australia 328 for 5, which was a very big score, certainly in one-day cricket in those days, and Sri Lanka 276 for 4, so a very good effort from an associate nation at the time.
Absolutely, yeah, and there was a lot of respect from our guys for their team, the way they hung in there, and they really took it to us, and which we gave them a lot of respect for.
Your third and final group match was against the West Indies, at the Oval on Saturday, the 14th of June. West Indies won the toss and put Australia in.
You can't remember too much about this game.
You're trying to forget now. West Indies won by 7 wickets. Australia all out for 192.
Yeah. And I know we didn't get off to a good start. And I didn't trouble the scorer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, caught Fredericks bowled Julian for no score. Yeah.
Okay. I knew there wasn't too many. So they outplayed us on that day, and their bowling was good, and we obviously didn't get a competitive total. So so that was obviously our first defeat, and which took us into the semi-final. But so then we had to travel to Leeds to play England in the semi-final.
Just going back to the game against the West Indies, one thing the game is always remembered for is Alvin Kalachurran, who in one over, and in those days this was a lot. He got 18 off a Dennis Lillee over.
Dennis Lillee, yeah, he did. He batted beautifully. He was a tremendous player, and our guys respected him a lot. Dennis wasn't very happy at the end of that over, but which is understandable after being hit for 18. But Alvin batted really well that day. But they had a good batting side, and they batted all right down, and a good bowling side. So we were aware that we just didn't score enough runs that day.
You mustn't forget also that 1975 we've been talking about fast bowling. We've got no helmets at that time.
That's right, and so which made batting, particularly against the speedsters, Lillee and Thompson, made it all the better because without those helmets, it was a different ball game.
Moving on then to the semi-final, quite remarkable match at Headingley. 16 wickets fell for 187 runs in only 65 overs. A real green top wicket.
It was, yeah. But it was amazing game. And yes, you're right. Batting was difficult. Was a challenge. Overcast conditions. A Yorkshire crowd obviously supporting the England team, but we. In some ways, we were fortunate. I can't remember whether we won the toss or not. But
Australia won the toss, put England in.
Won the toss, and we asked England to bat. And we witnessed probably the best swing ball that I've ever seen in my life for Gary Gilmore. And he was just absolutely unplayable. And the English batting had no real idea how to play him, and I just was so thankful that England batted first, and we didn't have to bat against that standard of swing bowling. It was just incredible. Our fielding was good. We took catches, so everything went our way until it was our turn to bat.
Gary bowled 12 overs, six maidens, 6 for 14. At one stage, England were 37 for 7, but they did make 93 in the end. Did you even think that 93 was going to be difficult to get?
Absolutely. Yep, we did. And so we were a bit frustrated at the latter order of the England batting that they put on that many, because we knew it was going to be difficult. And it turned out that was the case. And I think we lost. We were about 5 down, 6 down, and we still needed 20 or 30 to win.
Yeah, 39 for 6 you were at one stage.
39 for 6. Yeah, right. So you can say we were in a little bit of trouble. And I think of those, I might have got about 12 or 13 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah, you got 15. You were the fourth person out, so you battled hard.
Yeah, and runs were difficult to get, I'll tell you. And that was difficult because the England bowlers obviously knew how to bowl on those particular conditions. And so we were struggling. And so then, yeah, we were lucky to get out of that. And it was just such a fantastic all-round performance from Gary Gilmore. And I think Doug Walters got runs that day as well. And I think they put on a partnership which got us home.
Yeah, they added 55 for must have been the
seventh wicket.
Seventh wicket. Yeah, because you won by 4 wickets.
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. So, and it was just wonderful to see Gary's approach, which was his approach to cricket. Generally speaking, it was a matter of he was going to try and get the English bowlers before they got him. So he was very aggressive, and everything went his way. I mean, we could have been all out for 50, but such was his ability. But also he rode his luck, and that was the way he played cricket. And I'd seen him bat in similar ways in other games and other circumstances. So I knew he could do it, but he had to have a lot of luck. And to get runs on that day, you needed luck. And he rode it, and he won the game for us basically single-handedly.
Yeah, Gary got 28 runs off 28 balls.
Yep. And I think Doug Walters got similar, 20 or 30, something like that.
Doug Walters got 20, so yeah, crucial stand, really.
Absolutely, yeah. So anyway, we were obviously pretty stoked with that because it got us into the final, and because we thought that England was the yardstick, because they'd been playing for quite a number of years before we got into one-day cricket. So we were very happy to have got through that game and beat England, and were able to go back to London as finalists for the World Cup.
So a week after you played the West Indies at the Oval, you were back in London, as you say, for the final on Saturday, the 21st of June at Lord's. Yeah. Did you get a sense of how big an occasion it was?
Yes, to a certain extent. Once we'd started, because again, the noise was just horrendous. And the West Indian crowd, they were just so vocal, but so good. So understanding of what was going on out there, and but obviously supporting their team. But again, they understood the game, and particularly the one-day game, and the atmosphere was fantastic. Just to be able to play at Lord's, and the ground being absolutely full, and conditions being good. Again, I know. I think I didn't get off to a good start. I got 7, I think, something like that. But West Indies batted first, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you put them in, but you had them in trouble. They were 50 for 3.
They were, and I just remember I was in absolute awe of the power of Clive Lloyd. And I think Rowan Kanai got half century, if I remember correctly.
Rowan Kanai got 55, yeah.
Yeah, and he batted well. He had a couple of sixes, but Clive Lloyd, his innings, I think he got 100. But his power was just awesome. And I remember fielding on the cover boundary up the hill, and he smashed a cover drive off Max Walker, and he got to me before I even moved. And had it have been a metre or two either side of me, I wouldn't have been able to stop it. But just his power was just awesome. And I think I can't remember how many. I think we got Vivi Richards out fairly early, so I thought we had a chance. But Clive batted just so well and so much with so much power. It was just awesome.
Talking about Clive, he got 102 off 85 balls, strike rate of 120. That would be good even in these days.
Even now, yeah.
That was a big score, 291 in one-day cricket in a final.
Yeah, it was, and it was a big target, and we knew that we would have to bat very well as we possibly could to win this game. And the fact that it was a final and we're batting second, had this big target, so the pressure was on us the whole time. And so you'll probably mention the fielding and the runouts. Each time we put a partnership together and looked as if we're going to go fairly well, somehow or other, Viv Richards would run somebody out. It was just an amazing performance in the field from Viv, and every time we looked like putting a partnership and getting on top, we lost a wicket, and so that was the way the innings unfolded. And we just kept putting a partnership together, kept losing a wicket, and it just kept going on and on. And so the pressure was building up all the time.
Exactly, you read my notes here. I put every time Australia got going, there was a run out. There was 5 run outs, three by Viv. He ran out Ian and Greg and Alan Turner.
Yep.
And in the end, it got to Australia with 2-3-3 for 9, and then Dennis Lilly and Jeff Thompson finished up adding 41 for the 10th wicket.
Yep. Yeah, it was an amazing partnership. It was a bit unexpected in a way because and just the way they went about it, they were convinced that they could win the game, and both having fairly large egos, they wanted to show the rest of the batting side how fast bowlers could score runs and against this West Indies attack and win this game. And so that was their approach, and we just didn't believe that they would get anywhere near. But then it got down to 30 to go and then 20 to go, and we thought, this is ridiculous, they can't do it. And then I think they must have thought, well, we can really do this. And then once they start thinking that was their downfall. So I think they got to about 17.
You lost by 17 runs, yeah.
17 to win. So all credit to those two guys. They really batted as they'd never batted before, and almost won the game for us. But in the end, the West Indies were too good, and they were deserved winners. But it was an amazing scene at the end of the game. It was almost dark because it was around about 9 p.m. at night, and at the end of the game, the ground was just overrun by West Indians, and it was an amazing scene. And so I think they had to clear the ground a little bit to allow Prince Philip to present the trophy to Clive Lloyd. But yeah, look, an amazing scene, an amazing game, and an end of a very exciting tournament. But I remember thinking at the end of the game, we drove out of Lord's around about midnight, and we reflected that we got to the ground around about 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning. And so it was a pretty long day. And 60 overs batting, that's 120 over a day. It was a long day, and we were totally exhausted by the end of it.
When you look back now, 48 years later, how do you reflect on being part of history? The first, I know it was a Prudential Cup, but the first ever World Cup.
That's right. Yeah, look, it was wonderful to be there and to be part of history. we would love to have won that game, but to have actually got to the final when no one really expected us to get that far. We weren't expected to go play out of our first three matches, but we did, and we won the semi-final, and we got to the final and got to within 17 runs of winning the final. So, yeah, we were disappointed, but looking back and reflecting, it was just a wonderful experience to be there and just to play against a brilliant West Indian side and to play in front of a wonderful West Indian crowd at Lord's. It was a great day, and really enjoyed it. And we look back on that, with fond memories. And I just wonder how this current World Cup is going to go. Whether who will win, who will play well, who will get to the final, who will play well. I have a fair idea that India will be in the final. Who they play, it's a bit hard to tell. The Australian side hasn't performed all that well leading up to it, but anything can happen in a World Cup, as we showed in 1975. We weren't expected to get to the final, but we did. So anything could happen. It will be exciting, but there's an awful lot of cricket to be played.
Home advantage can play a big part, can't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Australia has won a few World Cups over the years, but this particular thing, India has got a wonderful ODI team, and they're playing it at home. It's hard to see them getting beaten. I know England have got a good side, good ODI side, and got some very attacking players. Not sure how their bowling attack will go against an Indian batting side, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Just going back to 1975, the only World Cup before Terry Packer changed one-day cricket forever, really, when we had night cricket, coloured clothing and white balls.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was interesting, was different. Look, to a certain extent, even though it was called one-day cricket, and there was different connotation because of that, it was almost normal cricket because it was played with a red ball and we had white gear on, and so it was almost a shortened version of longer cricket. But obviously, it reverted to a lot more than that once World Series cricket started.
Well, thank you very much, Rick, for sharing your "What was it like to" moment.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. It was good to think back to those times and the memories. And it was a long time ago, but that's one thing about this game of cricket. You always have the memories and of what happened and those you played with and against, and you'll always have that connection with those guys. So, yeah, it's wonderful to be reminded of that. So, thank you.
Sports Social Podcast Network.